Hey everybody, it's me, Carl Chanches. The time is now 1 a.m., 4th of April, and I've been spending the last hour or so just contemplating and meditating upon the goodness of God and how God has carried me over the last few years that I've been writing and publishing. And I felt like I'd like to share the story with you. In case there's anybody out there who would like to write a book one day, who wants to be an aspiring author, or there's just somebody who needs a little bit of motivation, then this story is for you. So if you do enjoy the story, please leave a like and subscribe down below.
Love it.
So my writing journey actually began in 2013, which was about 10 years ago. In 2013, I had just finished my matric exam and I was waiting for my results. And I had this idea for a book that was just constantly playing in my head. And the idea revolved around anthropomorphic animals. So in other words, animals with human characteristics, and these animals could use swords and spears and bow and arrows, and they had kingdoms and they fought wars. That was the idea of the book I had. And I could see this, the story as a movie one day. And it just constantly played in my head. And I have this idea, or philosophy, whatever you would like to call it. I have this belief that if there's an idea in your head that you just can't get out of your head, then this is an idea from God, and it's something that you really need to act on, because this is something that, carries God's approval. So I thought the best way to get this idea out of my head was to write it down. And I didn't have a laptop, I didn't have a computer. All I had was this small little Momo that I got for being valedictorian for the year. So I began writing on this Momo. Now you have to understand, at this point of time, I had never written anything more than 1,000 words. But suddenly I could write this book, and it came out to about 40,000 plus words. And when I wrote this book, I wrote it in a month, and I realized, oh, I'm actually good at this. I actually enjoy writing, and I enjoy the map making in the process, the creating of the characters. So that's the kind of thing that I found out, oh, I actually enjoy this. So in 2013, I wrote finally my first book, and I was very, I don't know if cocky is the word, but I'll use cocky for now. If I was very cocky at the moment, and where I thought this book was it, this was the winner, because I edited it, I read it, and I loved it. And I sent the book through to about 23, 24 plus publishers, very much proud of the work that I did. And all 23, 24 plus publishers rejected me. And it was a bit discouraging, but I kept on pushing. And one thing about publishers, they never ever respond to you. So they won't ever. So some of them will say, sorry, your book is not good enough. Some just won't answer you, give you a reply email, so you should know it's a no. But they will never ever comment on your work that you did. But there was one publisher who responded, and this publisher, the comment that the publisher gave me was, great story, bad writing. So that was all that I had to go on. So I knew, okay, this is what I need to fix. I need to fix my own writing skills. And that was my very first day of writing, from 2013 to 2014. That was what I experienced.
Nice try though, Nick.
Okay, so in 2014, I experienced now my first set of rejections, but I didn't let it stop me. I'm not somebody who quits after the first try. So I began writing another book. This book was called The Rite of Passage, The Journey of Kyle. A very amateurish name. I know it's amateurish because I researched it. I researched, what do publishers hate? And they said, one of the very first things was your own name in the title. So I knew, change that. So that was the first one I wrote. But what I focused on was chapter 1. Well, not really chapter 1, scene 1 of the book. I spent a lot of time in scene 1 just describing the scene, describing the setting, how the movement is, how the dialogue is. And I found out, whoa, I can write amazing now. There was a massive jump from book 1 to book 2. From my writing skills, it was a massive jump. because now I did a lot of research. How do you write better? How can I improve my writing? YouTube helped me a lot. So those are the things that I started to implement, and I kept writing. And this time it was a dystopian series, which I'll actually get into a bit later, but we'll get there. So it was a dystopian series. And when I wrote it, I got a whole new name for it. And finally I thought, okay, this is the book. Because this book had drama, it was there was a lot of action, adventure, a lot of themes. There was a lot of romance in also. And I thought, okay, this is the book that's going to, win it for me. I sent it to the same 22, 23 plus publishers, and all of them again rejected me. This time there was no comments. So I sent all of those back, and now the despondency was really kicking in, and I thought maybe I should switch my genres. Maybe fantasy is not for me. And because I'm a Christian, I decided, okay, let me switch to Christian fiction. So 2015, 2016, I began writing my third book, which is a Christian fiction novel called Why My Past Won't Leave Me Alone. So I began writing that, and this book took so long to write. It took me about 6 months to write this book. It came out very beautifully, but it took me about 6 months to write this book because it's not my genre. There's a belief that I have. You should not be having a writer's block. A writer's block is for people who are writing outside of their own enjoyment. That's what I believe. If this what book that you are writing is something that you really enjoy, then you shouldn't be having writer's block. I've never had writer's block because I enjoy what I write. However, the longest book that I wrote was something that was outside of my main area of expertise. So this Christian fiction novel took me 6 months to write, and that was the longest it ever took me to write a book. And that I decided, okay, let me write this, and the story came out very beautifully. And I sent this book out now to a different 22, 23 plus publishers.
Again.
And all of them again rejected me. And now the despondency was really kicking in. And one thing that really kept me going, because as you get despondent, you're thinking, maybe I should quit, maybe writing is not for me. One thing that kept me going at this time was my faith. It is not something that I will ever throw away, because I know my faith kept me during this time. In 2014, when I was writing that first book, I hadn't told anybody that I wrote a book and that I planned to write more books. And I went to a prayer meeting, and this prophet came to me, and he says to me, he sees me writing stacks and stacks of books. And I thought,
Wow.
I don't despise prophecy. I believe in prophecy. And I thought, okay, if nobody knows about this and he's already seeing me writing these stacks and stacks of books, then writing books is something that God has planned for me, and it's something that I should push. So I kept on pushing. So even after all these rejections, I decided I'm going to keep pushing. And in 2017, 2018, I was at another prayer meeting, and another prophet came to me, and she tells me, she sees 2020 is the year that I will publish a book. Now this is 2017. And 2017, I thought, oh, hell no. Hell to the no. This can't be from God. This must be the devil. This must be the devil. I can't wait another 3 years to publish my first book. But she said 2020, and I just kept praying about it and kept writing. And then I began my next book in 2018. 2018, I began a new novel. This novel is called The Turlock Triangle. You can see the book here. I'll link to it also down below. 2018, I began The Turlock Triangle. And for this, I had this idea of, I love tournaments, and I love adventures. I love long walks. You can see also my walk to Ceres. I'll also link this here. I love long walks. I love adventures. I love swords. I love tournaments. I love fighting. And I decided, if I really want to go on a long tournament, so let me write a story about people who do go on a long tournament. And I decided I'm going to make this a tag team tournament. So two cousins, they start on a tag team tournament where they have to complete 9 challenges within 9 months in 9 different provinces, and they have to walk all these different provinces. That was the idea for the story I had, and I began writing, and it went well as I was writing. But as I stopped and I read through it, I realized, no man, there is something very, very, very wrong about this book that I'm writing. It is going the same way as all these other books. And I watched a video called The Power of Planning, and this video changed my life forever. It changed my writing journey forever. And the main concept of the video was, if you're going to build a shack, or a shanty as they call it in other countries, if you're going to build a shack, you don't need a plan. You don't need blueprints to build a shack. But if you're going to build a building of great repute, then for that you will need a blueprint, you will need a plan, you need a structure set out. So if anytime you're going to build something that you consider to be something that you want to be big, then you're going to have a plan. And that's what I realized I haven't been doing all this time. I haven't been setting out plans. I've had a map, I had an idea, and I wrote and I flowed with what I had. And it went well, but it could have gone a lot better if I actually planned it out. And at this point of time, I already wrote the Turlock Triangle, about half of the book, which was about 44,000 words. And I decided, no, let me just start over. So I deleted everything. All 44,000 words were gone. I deleted it, and I decided, let me start planning, structuring. So I spent the next 3 months just planning. I drew my map out. J.R.R. Tolkien always says, start with a map, base your story off that. So I started with the map, and then I began setting out my chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And I read how do people plan things out. I remember J.K. Rowling said, your chapter 1 always needs to end off with a bang. So in other words, I was thinking, how can I end my chapter 1 with a bang? Harry Potter book 1, chapter 1 ends off with them saying, with Hagrid telling Harry,
you're a wizard, Harry.
There's a big thing at the end of the chapter, and I figured, how can I end chapter 1 like that? I set out all my chapters. I wanted 4 scenes per chapter, and I knew already how many words I'm going to have, how many chapters I'm going to have. I figured, okay, I'm going to have 9 provinces. In these 9 provinces, how many regions do I want in each province? And then I wanted, how many teams are there going to be? There's going to be 39 teams. Okay, we have our main characters, our main team. What can I put in as a running joke about them? Okay, their name is going to be Team 6 because of a blunder. I put in who are going to be the main antagonists. For example, there's an assassin. With that, there's also another team that is trying to kill them. At the end, when they're at the championship rounds, there's another team that they have to battle against. There's the syndicate that they're trying to save this girl from, which is another element of the story. I wanted to put a romantic element in, so there was another build up. And then I wanted to put in other teams that also help them in this process. And I wanted all these interconnecting stories that finally lead up to one major point, climax in the story. And that's what I did. So I set out the next 3 months just plotting out the book, figuring out how do I actually want this story to run. And I spent the time planning that. And when I thought, okay, my planning is good, now I began writing. And then the writing went so quick. After I had it planned out, the writing went quick out, and it came out beautifully. And I thought, okay, this is the book. I did some self-editing, and then finally I sent it through to, again, 22, 23 plus publishers, all different ones now. And I sent it through to these publishers, and many of them rejected me. And finally, there was one publisher in KwaZulu-Natal, Malherba Uitgewers, who finally accepted me. And they accepted me in 2019. I think it was October 2019. And I remember it was a Sunday, because I was in my room and my sisters were all in the kitchen. They were making food. And I read the email that they accepted my book, and I was like, I'm actually going to be published. Um, and I ran into the kitchen and I told my family, and my sister started celebrating. Yeah, we're gonna be rich, rich, and they were celebrating and we were all dancing there. Um, that was 2019. It's 2023 now. We are not rich.
Are we rich or are we poor? I can't tell.
She's very disappointed in the fact that we're not rich. Um, but since that time, my life has just been so blessed ever since then. But yeah, so 2019, I received my first publishing contract, and I was thinking of the prophecy that said in 2020 I'm going to be published. And there's a scripture that came to mind when Jesus was baptized. John said he shouldn't be baptizing Jesus, and Jesus told him, let us do it so that the scripture might be fulfilled. And I thought, okay, let me do this so that the prophecy is fulfilled. And I asked the publishers, can we publish in 2020? And in 2020, my very first book was published, The Turlock Triangle, and that book it holds a lot of meaning to me. Later, I changed the cover of The Turlock Triangle. You can see here's the new cover. But that book means a lot to me, and whenever I get reviews on that book, they are always heartwarming, and it's very. I just feel very much blessed whenever I read reviews on that, because that book took me on a journey. But that was in 2020 when my first book got published, The Turlock Triangle, and it will always be the closest book to my heart. And then my story is not over. And then in 2020, the very first of January, I was in church, and the prophetess comes to me, and she tells me she sees me publishing 3 more books for the year, so 4 books for 2020. And I was like, oh, okay, the scripture must be fulfilled. I went back to the 2 books that I had written previously, which was the dystopian book, which I renamed to Blood Poetry. That book is available on Amazon Kindle for free. So if you would like a free book of mine to see how I write, I will link the book up. This is the book. So I rewrote that book. I edited and I published it. Actually, that book gets over 60 plus downloads every month. I think people just love the cover. That cover cost me $2,000. I saved up money to make that cover, and it gets a lot of views and a lot of downloads every month. And then I took also the Christian fiction novel, Why My Past Won't Leave Me Alone. I will also link to that. That book is 99 cents on Amazon. I redid that book. You can see the cover is actually me on the cover. I didn't have money at the time, so I figured I'll just take a picture of myself, make the cover look grainy, make it look like a long journey story. Slap my own cover there on, and it's on. And actually, that book gets more sales than I actually thought it would, because I don't ever advertise that book, but that book gets a lot more sales than I thought it would. People actually love the story. I don't think this is my best work. You have to be critical of yourself. I don't think it's my best work, but people love the story for some reason. And then finally, the last book that I published in 2020 was the short story for Journey of Soul called The Beginning. That book that is also 99 cents on Amazon. That sells very well. Or if you don't want to buy it on Amazon, you can get it for free if you go to my website, www.carljanchesauthor.com. On the home page, there is a free book. If you subscribe to my newsletter, I will also link that down below. So you will get, free books. So there's already 2 free books, the Blood Poetry and Journey of Soul, The Beginning. Those are the 4 books that are published in 2020. And then 2021 began. And 2021 was a year of greatness for me, I want to say. 2021, I decided I'm going to write and publish 10 books this year. I was very cocky. And I'm going to write and publish 10 books this year. That was my said, and I said it live on Facebook. So everybody could hold me accountable. Very stupid of me. So I said 10 books, and what you need to understand is that people don't write and publish 10 books a year. They do 2 maximum. But I said I'm gonna write and publish 10 books this year, and I already had 8 books planned. Eight. The first book I published was The Gloat, The Search for Mokele Mbembe. This was now an adventure comedy novel that I wrote. And what happened was I was in the kitchen cleaning. I know it was a Thursday night because that's my night for the kitchen. It was a Thursday night, and I was watching a documentary on the Congo, and they say in the Congo there might be what they call a hidden dinosaur, cryptozoology, because the Congo is largely undiscovered. But whenever missionaries go to the Congo and they speak to the pygmies and they show them a book of dinosaurs, the pygmies always point out 2 dinosaurs that they've seen there. So there might actually, be dinosaurs in the Congo. And one of the dinosaurs that they've seen there is called Mokele Mbembe. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'd really love to go. I would really love to go to the Congo and just explore and see if I can find this thing. And I went online to check what was the prices for an expedition, and the prices was $10,000. Now I'm a South African. $10,000 at the time came out to about 180,000 rand, and I thought, oh hell no, I don't have that money. And I thought, okay, if I can't go to the Congo, let me write a book about somebody who goes to the Congo. And just for fun, let me make this guy a loser. So the book is called The Gloat, Gloat, the greatest loser of all time. And I decided to make this guy a loser. A loser, in my opinion, is somebody who has a lot of potential but never acts on it. That's a loser to me. And I thought, okay, I want to make a character that is both likable and hateable. When the reader reads, he's not supposed to be able to tell whether or not he likes or hates this character. And that's the character I created, a loser. And the blurb of the book says he's rash, risky, selfish, greedy, and a major gloater, and he's searching for a dinosaur. That's the blurb of the book. And I wrote this book in 10 days. 10 days I wrote the book. I set up every night 5,000 words. The book came out to about 50,000 words. And I wrote the book, and I found out, if you really love something and you really want to do it and you really want to share in that adventure, writing becomes so easy to you. So easy to you. That is a tip you can take. It becomes so I wrote the book in 10 days. I self-edited in 2 days. That was 12 days. Then this time, already I've been traditionally published. This time I decided I want to try self-publishing through a company. So I got a company called The Reach Publishers. And I sent the book to them, and they got it edited and everything, and I paid for everything. That was about 16,000 rand.
Ooh, that's a lot of money.
It was a lot. I paid it off in installments. It was about 16,000 rand. And I sent the book off to them, and it came out very beautifully. And I had my first proper book launch. I launched The Turlock Triangle and The Gloat together. The Gloat, by the way, is available on Amazon, or you can buy it also a hard copy. But that was my very first book launch that I had, and it went very well. I had Diana Ferris there on. Shout out to Diana Ferris. She's an amazing poet, an amazing interviewee also. So she was the guest speaker at my book launch, and it went very well. And I felt very blessed that was the very first book that I published in 2021. And I still had 9 more books to write and publish in that year. That was February 2021. In March 2021, I published the second book for the year, which is the first book of my series called Journey of Soul. This is now book 1, The Search for Power. This book is also available on Amazon for free. So if you would like to get the book for free, you can go on Amazon Kindle It is there for free. I will link it down below. So if you ever want to get into the series, you can read book 1 and see if you enjoy it. So I wrote book 1. Really loved it. That was March. In April, I wrote book 2. And then before I even edited book 2, I began writing book 3 because I was so much interested and excited to see how this book is going to run. So I wrote book 2 and book 3 immediately after each other. Then I went back to book 2, edited, went to book 3, and so forth. And I finished all 7 books of the series in 1 year. So I had already now published and wrote 8 books for 2021. And then I had still 2 more to publish because I said I'm going to write and publish 2. But I was exhausted at that time. I was exhausted. I was tired. I had been spending every single night up, unsure of what to do.
I haven't slept for days.
Editing, making sure every book comes out right. And this was all self-published, so I had to speak with designers, I had to speak with editors, a lot of emails going on, a lot of payments to be made. But the books finally came out. I first published them as all as ebooks. And the series was out, and I still had 2 more books, and I figured out what am I going to write for these last 2 books. And I went to one of my old ideas that I had for a book called Escapism. Escapism is based off the premise of where people run away from their responsibilities and escape into a world where there is no responsibilities. And that was the book 9 that I published, and I published that book in December 2021. And I was so exhausted that I couldn't complete 10 books. So my mission was a failure in 2021 to write and publish 10 books. Although I do feel proud of myself to be able to have accomplished that feat, to write and publish 10 books in 1 year, 9 books in 1 year was a great feat and something that I celebrate. But it also taught me to watch my mouth and what I say. In 2022, because I was already exhausted from writing 9 books in 2021, I decided this year I'm not going to write this much. I'm going to market myself. So 2022 was a year of marketing. The 7 books that I wrote in the series, I finally changed them now into paperback copies. I had a box designed for them. I had a book launch for my books. Went very well. In that year, I was on a lot of different platforms. God be praised. I was on the radio. I was on TV multiple times. I spoke on a number of different platforms, schools. I spoke at the Adam Small Literary Festival. I've met a lot of people, and I'm not rich yet. Like I said, my sister is very disappointed in me. I'm not rich yet, but I'm blessed. I am very much blessed. I am blessed beyond measure. Currently, as it stands in 2023, I have spent 80,000 Rand publishing books, self-publishing, and I've only made back about 20,000 Rand, so 60,000 deficit, but I am not in debt. I know how to budget, and God has been good to me financially. A lot of things, a lot of my finances is just supernatural because of my faith in God. So my faith is something that I will never give up, and this journey that God has taken me through from 2013 right up till now is something that I feel very much blessed by. Another thing that I have to praise God for is in 2022, the same book that I wrote in 10 days, I put it in for the Author Elite Awards and the Best General Fiction Novel, and I didn't win, but I actually made it to the top 5 finalists for the book. And now it's something very surprising because I wrote this book in 10 days, and this book actually almost came close to winning an award. Eventually, one day I will be an award-winning author. If not today, maybe not next year, but I will eventually be an award-winning author. I will also be a best-selling author, and I know this because I have faith in my God. I have faith in Jesus Christ, and yeah, I just have a belief that whatever happens will happen. So if there's anybody who does want to be an author one day, I want to tell you, keep pushing. It might not be your first book, it might not be your second, it might not be your third, but one of your books should come to pass if you keep on persevering, if you have a faith, if you have a love for your writing, then I guarantee you it will come to pass. There's a scripture that says, every good and perfect gift comes down from above. God doesn't give you a gift if He doesn't plan on you to use it. So make sure you use your book, make sure you plan it out. I'll go through, there'll be a few more videos that I will release on how you plan, how you structure, how you write. But for now, give this video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe so you can get also notifications about the other videos that I'm going to release, and have a blessed day. See you.